Hello, family. It's Raph, and welcome to Torah Tuesday. We're coming to the end of the season of Lent. Past Sunday was Palm Sunday, just as Anthony had mentioned, and we are in the Passover season, and Easter's coming up. And I think the word this week fits right into that theme of Holy Week. There are some Hebrew words that just have a really hard time being translated into English, and Pakad, our word today, is one of the more fascinating of those words. It can be a wonderful word, or it could be a terrible word, depending on the context. Well, you can imagine, put this in your memory here. You're 12 years old again, or maybe you're 12 years old right now, and one afternoon your mom yells, "Just wait until your dad gets home." Well, what did she just mean? It depends on the context, right? Maybe it's your birthday and your dad went out to get ice cream and pizza and balloons for a party that you're going to have later. In that context, I think you can't wait for dad to come home. But if your mom just discovered a report card full of failing grades under a pile of dirty laundry in your very filthy room, I think that has a more ominous tone. That's the kind of word, kind of what Pakad means. We're going to be in the King James a lot, and in the King James, Pakad is translated as visit. You're going to be able to see that it's not really being used in the normal sense of the word, and it never refers to knocking on a person's door and saying hello. You can see in Pakad, in Psalm 8:4, it says, "What is a man that thou art mindful of him? The Son of Man, that thou would visitest him." Had a hard time with that. You also find Pakad in Ruth 1:6, where God visits his people by ending their famine. Here it means that God came to their aid and rescued them from a crisis. In 1 Samuel 2:21, God visits Hannah by answering her very tearful prayer for a son. It could be a wonderful thing when God visits you, in the sense of answering prayers and rescuing us from sadness and distress. And it's simply amazing, right, that God cares for us and is mindful of our daily needs. Yet let's now consider how Pakad is used in Exodus 32:34. It says, "In the day when I visit them, I will visit their sins upon them." Here the word has a very negative connotation, right? This kind of visit is the one you just dread, kind of like your dad coming home when you're in big trouble with your mom. What Pakad has in common in each of these lines is the idea of paying attention to. So when God pays attention to a person, he cares for them. When God pays attention to somebody's prayers, he answers them. But when he pays attention to someone's sins, it sounds like he punishes them. And, the prophets, they were fully aware of this sharp, double-edged meaning of Pakad. And they would drive home their points by using both meanings in the same line. So let's listen to how Jeremiah uses Pakad in a poetic way to, kind of come against and denounce the corrupt leadership of Israel at the time. Jeremiah 23:2 says, "Therefore, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says to the shepherds who tend my people. Because you have scattered my flock and driven them away and have not bestowed care on them, I will bestow," there it is, "punishment on you for the evil you have done, declares the Lord. Because they have not pakad his sheep, he will pakad their sins." I think you would find it interesting to see how different translations kind of bring up this wordplay in English. It is quite fascinating. And a few lines later in Jeremiah 23:12, the prophet again uses the word for full effect when he speaks of the year of their visitation, Pekudah. Jeremiah knew that the time is coming when God would focus his attention like a laser beam on the state of his nation. Whether it would be a time of great light and joy or great destruction and pain would depend on them and their response to the prophet. Jesus also used this same word to make a similar prophetic statement against the temple and Jerusalem during the triumphal entry into the city, which was Palm Sunday. In Luke 19:43 and 44, also in the King James, it says, the temple would be destroyed because thou knewest not the time of thy visitation. Here, Jesus was not simply referring to how he visited by coming to earth, but rather he uses the phrase, the time of visitation, to speak of a potentially more ominous time of God, when God examines the deeds of his people. It could be a time of God's salvation, or more likely, a time of punishment. The coming of Christ really captures maybe the strongest meaning of the word Pakad in Hebraic terms. So let's see. For those who repented and follow Christ, right, God has come to their rescue to save them eternally. But for those who ignore him, it could be the source of their punishment. A time where God would visit their sins in the judgment to come. So in Christianity, we believe that God became a person. We call it the incarnation. Literally, to put skin on. The way the Hebrew would say it is, God would tabernacle or put up his tent with us. This was and is a revolutionary way for people to think about God. God with us? What a scandal. Jesus on Easter, he made the ultimate visitation and sacrifice for humanity to show how far a good father would go to be in a relationship with his children. For those of us who believe this, it is a welcome visit. If you don't believe this, I just want you to know that Jesus wants to visit you right where you are, as you are. Jesus, before his passion, he said, here on earth, you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart, because I have overcome the world. On Easter, we believe and celebrate Jesus overcoming death for you and me. And we can take heart in that truth in our times of trouble today. I hope in this time that even though we're not going to be together physically this Easter to celebrate, that you would know that God is with you, he is for you, he is not against you, and he wants to visit you in a very special way as we celebrate Jesus. If you found this helpful, please like or share, subscribe, leave a comment. We love to know where you are on this journey. And it's the best way to keep up with our daily devos. So grace and peace, family. I pray that you have a welcome visitation this week. And I'll see you next week for Torah Tuesday.